Welcome to another edition of the CivBattleRoyale. My name is Dawkinzz, and this is episode 23, A Song of Spice and Ire. And it's going to be a very special edition because I'm winging it. I don't have any narrations to go by, so this is going to be a very special audio recording that only people listening get to see. So, without further ado, let's get right into this. And we'll start with some OC from our user SamCrow360. It shows the Uruguayan foot infantry in their final moments before hearing the trees speak Quicoran. Yeah, that fight between the Uruguayans and Quicoro, that has been going on for centuries, so I can't imagine anybody wanting to be part of that whatsoever. So let's see how that develops this part, shall we? Our first map that we're looking at is Varian's hand-drawn map, which was released in record time. I think it was 20 seconds after the part was released. He always does a good job, and I love looking at it, so take a further look at it now. And of course, the Spore map by user Thy Reformer, which helps us keep track of all of the wars that are going on the cylinder. I, for one, have completely lost track, so I'm not sure. It also took me such a long time to realize that the map is in geographical order. I thought it was random, just based on size and space, but that's the world. That's the cylinder. And I'm dumb. And for the PR slide again this week, I think it's like the 14th time in a row, Uruguay tops the charts. They have an abundance of units all over the cylinder, which you'll get to see a closer look. They developed the atomic bomb and did it real quickly, and you can see that in this slide there is a little plane or perhaps a bomb at the airport of one of their cities. So let's see if they can put that to good use against the Quicoro. We begin this episode with a capital capture. The Venetians have really pulled through after being put so low at the beginning of this season. I really like our boys in purple because they have taken Aachen and didn't burn it down, which I don't think they can do. We'll see if Limerick is next, and we'll hope that this purple blob can continue. Regensburg will burn and be destroyed by next part. There's no hope for that unless Venice attacks the Viking city and takes it, which I don't think will happen. The Moors are putting their tanks on the front line with Venice. I would hope that Venice puts some defensive units there, otherwise that could be a turnaround and Murano would be yellow instead of purple. The Czechs are looking a little defensive with some outdated units. We'll see how that goes, but that great general is looking mighty ready to put down a citadel to take more chunks out of the HRE. The Manx need to also develop their units, otherwise it's going to be orange pretty soon. Songhai really is the filling of this turd sandwich as the Moors come from the west and Benin is striking through the east. The only thing that would make it worse is if Nubia attacked them as well, but I can't see this going much further for Songhai. Like, Benin is going to take Timbuktu, they're going to take Kakia, and the Moors, if they continue to push, we could see some trouble for Songhai. The Evenks take Vorkuta, and in retaliation, the Kazakhs declare war on the Canton pirates so far away. It's an abusive relationship. There are plenty of reindeer and knight and little crossbow boys in the area, but they're gonna definitely need to upgrade if they want to stand a chance to do anything. The Kazakhs have their little pistols and their whatever unit that is. I think it's a Legionnaire. They are aimed at taking parts of the Evenks, but they need to build up too, so I can't predict anything going on except at a glacial pace up here. What is Muscovy doing exactly? And why are they just in the middle of everything? A few settlers on the slide, the Czechs and Muscovy, notably. They have their sights set on building a city, but where they'll do it is anyone's guess. This is otherwise fairly peaceful. Stettin at one pop, hopefully that'll grow, and I don't know, those spiked helmets from the Prussians really need to start moving along and start taking people out before they get outdated pretty soon. The Great White North. The Vikings have taken over the North Atlantic pretty thoroughly. The only thing they have to deal with are the Moors up north, and they have all of Iceland. Oh boy, this is a force to be reckoned with all those ships and units, and I can't see them really having it taken away from them anytime soon. Korea is really getting chewed up by the Shikoku. Those units are pushing pretty hard into these lands. They really want to take mainland Japan back for their rightful reasons. Well, we can see that Hamgyong might fall within the next turn, although there really isn't a unit nearby because Czech unit is in the way and we can't get that privateer in. On the other side, Sungju could fall as well, and that's a pretty decent sized 24 pop city, which would be really good for the Shikoku. Not sure what the Haida are doing. They still have their unique unit, which I'm not sure when it's able to upgrade, but now is the time that they should have declared war on Korea rather than when they were completely outgunned. Get them on their last legs and push them even further, which they should do now. Now. Our Kiwi friends in the South Pacific are continuing to be pushed back by the Gu force. The Tonggu have taken those islands to the north and now they just want more. Will this defensive line be able to hold these cities? Because if they can't, the Gu is just going to keep on pushing. Tonga is looking pretty scary this time around. They have a lot of units that are capable of taking these cities. New Zealand is already on the back foot with Tongu taking it from the west. If Tonga is able to just get their stuff together and just attack, they could take a lot of land from them, putting the Kiwis even further behind. Speaking of being on the back foot, the Métis keep being pushed back to the west, with Wood Mountain being taken finally, and again, not burned down, which is a sight to be seen. The Iroquois do have a decent amount of units in the area, but I'd say they'd have to go southwest rather than towards those northern shipyards, because the Métis have that navy to defend themselves, but they haven't been really able to use it, so just keep pushing, Hiawatha. And here we have the terrifying front that is the Uruguayan-Quicuro border. I don't know how the Quicurans have been able to defend against this force. If you can see, they have regular infantry. That's better than anyone I've seen on the cylinder thus far as I can tell. And they have atomic weaponry, which not sure where that went, but how they utilize it is yet to be seen. But you can see that Seku no longer has that little airplane / potential atomic bomb in it. The Quicuro can consider themselves lucky for now. Uh-oh. Is this the Marathan Carnival? Kazakh lands are being filled with Marathan units, which is not a terribly good sign for them at the very least. It's a good thing that the comics don't have open borders because they have open land that they need to start filling with units if they want to, defend themselves against Maratha of all people. They don't even share a border. But the comics need to wake up. They need to start the fire, start boiling that water so they can defeat their enemies. The Tongu have consolidated this string of former New Zealandish islands, which is to their favor if they want to continue pushing down further into Oceania. We can also see that the Apache and Canton pirates, I think, are at war with one another, which is pretty cool, I guess. I'm not sure where that's going, but that cannon and pikemen are unfortunately in dire straits. Sugo, Tlemcen, Olata, all of it is going down, and Songhai is circling the drain. Adagost, Bamako, and Gao haven't taken any damage yet, but they are starting to get surrounded by those sharks. Uruguay also has a strong footing in Africa, of all places, and this is not exactly the resurgence of the Chilean backdoor squad that we wanted from Mark I. Uruguay needs to go down, and no, I'm not being biased at all. I'm just a Selknam fan. Oof, that didn't take long, as Adagost, Gao, and Constantine are brought down to less than half health. Ooh, that's a lot of units, a lot of ranged units. But will they be able to take these cities is unclear. Will Benin be the ones that take these cities? Or will Songhai be able to defend itself and remain relevant? A relatively peaceful shot of the region, and you wouldn't necessarily be able to tell that two of these civs are at war with one another. The Golden Horde have been squished down to more of a golden coin rather than an entire nation, and the Goths are just kind of sitting there, taking pot shots from time to time. Everybody just needs to push. I've been saying it a lot throughout most of these slides. Everyone just needs to get their shit together and push, but that's the AI for you. And here's something that's completely unexpected. The Ice Sheet Fleet 2 is actually doing something. St. Paul de Métis is taking damage, and they really don't have anything to defend themselves, so we might actually see the UPEG make some gains here, which is completely unexpected. Something I kind of forgot about is that the Apache are at war with the Métis as well, so the Métis really are surrounded right now. They're being pushed further north. The Apache are taking a few pot shots here and there, but Cut Knife is still at regular health, no damage done. And we'll see if the Métis are able to consolidate their forces. They're taking damage all over the place, and the Iroquois are even pushing towards Battleford. Will they be able to defend this front, or will they also suffer the same fate as the Songhai? A shot of Hawaii, the most important part of the cylinder. The Shikoku have really laid down roots here, and Iwo Jima is at 26 population, which isn't bad. Moniwa is the Tongu territory, but it has been at 4 population for the past 6 parts. So not sure what they're doing. They might want to get a workboat out there sometime soon. You can see that Uruguay is sending its pastors to just spread the good word of, what is it again? Some Christian variety. Also, if you didn't see the last slide, Palmyra declares war on the Murray. Better watch out. We get a nice shot of the Azores and West African islands to see that the Moors have done pretty good with their navy. If they continue to push further south, they could take a good chunk out of the rest of West Africa with Songhai, or potentially push Uruguay out of Africa, which would be wonderful. Look at the Seljuks and their little tiny one-tile city. Honestly, Indira just has to sneeze and they're gone. Palmyra just has to look their way and they're gone. Even the Madagascan cannon and musketmen could probably take the city if they wanted to. But things aren't looking good for them, and they need to, I don't know, I guess just die already. Now that those 2 former Nazca cities are gone, Tonga can just chill out, and they should probably bring over a settler since they burned everything down. Venezuela up north has a fearsome-looking navy, which, if they turn their attention south, could spell disaster for the Nazca as well. Ooh, Madagascar definitely had a dream about Mini Pedro and has taken to filling the lands of Benin with their units, filling them with their unique unit, some musketmen, and cannons. So if war were declared, Benin might have a problem since they're too busy focusing on Songhai. Baruni is taken by Tongu, but the Kiwis should be able to flip it back and probably have it flip back and forth again. Poor Papua. They were once so mighty and cool with their neon green filling northern Oceania, but now they're just 2 little islands, 2 little boys just sitting in the ocean. Australia, they are starting to rebuild, and I see a settler moving north to take the place where Alice Springs used to be. Let's see if Australia is able to do anything, as they've been a bit sleepy, and I still don't like them, so I don't want them to be successful. If you were worried about the fate of the Apache pikemen and cannon, fret not, because the Canton pirates and them have declared peace, along with the Vikings and the Qing. Here in the center of the slide, we see that the Evenks are being pushed back by the Kazakhs, who stand a chance of doing some serious damage if they actually start attacking things. All of those cities have full health, so I'm not sure what they're standing around doing. Limerick is taken from the HRE, and Venice continues to expand into northern Europe. Aachen looks to be safe and secure and will continue to be a part of the Venetian Empire. The other lands around Vienna and Speyer look a little empty, so the Vikings need to fill that out a bit, but Prague is still looking pretty plentiful. In other news, oh shit, I forgot to just mention all of the wars that are declared on the right side of the map. Okay, Venice and Czechia are at war, so I guess they got a little cocky, and hopefully Limerick remains purple, or not, I don't know. The Vikings declare war on the Czechs as well, so that's a problem, which kind of is addressed with what I was talking about before. Northern Europe is not filled with many melee units or units in general, so will the Czechs actually do some damage? That would be pretty weird in a two-way war. Also to note that, the Brandenburg Gate is built in Königsberg by the Prussians, which is a pretty good unit producing wonder. That'll be good for them. And the Sami and Haiti are at war, which will probably be the defining moment of this entire game. In other news, Tonga has woken up a little bit. Tired of the other fan favorites of Haiti, they declare war on them, and the Murray, of all people, are going to be under the attack by Tonga and Uruguay, who are best friends, apparently. Let's see how that develops. Yeah, I don't see Songhai getting out of this without much of anything. You have Adagost, which is in 0, as is Constantine, but the Moors need to push a melee unit forward if they want to capture anything. Gao, that's gone. Just add an end to there. And Benin is just going to really continue to expand. The Songhai, they have very few units left other than maybe a cannon and some prophets, but they're going to need to say their prayers if they want to last the rest of this episode. Whangamata must have flipped and then flipped back, and you can see that New Zealand is pushing against those former islands of theirs. Tongu is, thankfully depending on your perspective, being pushed back a little bit, but I'm not sure how that little squad is going to last. New Zealand needs to continue building ships if they want to remain relevant, and the Tongu have really been proving themselves. I'm really impressed with them this test. If they continue to play their cards right, they could be a major contender for this game. Is that the meme? The Yupik and Haida are a little scarier than I remember. I really love their colors, so I can't knock them for that. But if Haida were to declare war, I'm not sure exactly who would necessarily be the winner. It's probably the Haida that would win, but let the Yupik have their 15 minutes of fame because they have been doing pretty good with their ice sheet fleet. Let's see if that'll continue. Shikoku continues their dominance on Korea as they push further north. I'm not sure what unit that is that the Koreans have, but it's not doing much to save their lands. I'm talking about that little cannon north on Hamgyong. That one. It's really quite interesting to see Korea become a Siberian civ. In other news, the declarations of war on Haiti seem to be continuing as the Ottomans make their feelings known. Also, my favorite, the Selknam declare war on Haiti, which brings us to a really good fan fiction that I'd like to see on the sub somewhere. Who would win? The followers of the Eldritch Horrors? Or those that practice Davudu?
Songhai loses their capital of Gao to Benin as things just get worse and worse. Maybe that great writer will write a poem about it or something. In side-screen wonder news, Uruguay build the Kremlin. Hopefully they enjoy it, those commie bastards.
Well, a few important things just happen at once. First, let's talk about peace. Tongu and New Zealand are at peace, as is the Yupik and the Apache, which is less relevant. But more importantly, Australia wakes back up, and the Murray are surrounded, kind of. It's like a three-quarters circle-ish thing. Oh boy, will they be able to survive? I don't know. We could be seeing an elimination this part. Speaking of feeling a little cramped, the Moors and Almeria are almost surrounded by the Vikings, but the Vikings need to prove themselves a little bit more if they want to consolidate the region. All they need is that one city, and this area, with the exception of Ulm, is theirs. The Vikings just need to step up their game a little bit. Tongu, now newly at peace with New Zealand, are looking to relax. And with all those units, you can tell that they just want peace. Oh boy, if they were to move further north to the Chin or even to the Kenton Pirates, they would easily take it, no question, hands down. But if you look to the west, Maratha could give them some problems. It would be a pretty decent war if they fought with one another, but I don't know, that would be pretty bloody. The Manx are pretty unhappy with their turn of events and have started revolting with those two barbarian pikemen in the region. Oh, I have had high hopes for these guys. I even made a song about them that I never released. Shh, that's a secret. If you're listening to this audio narration, you're the only ones that know about it. But, also to the right, you can see a Scot. Yeah, the Scottish composite bowman still exists. And a Tongan scout? I don't know what that is in Viking territory. He's a far away from home. I didn't mention it last slide, but the Iroquois and Métis are at peace, but that really doesn't matter because you got a lot of other things going on. Let's see. In peace news, Uruguay and Songhai, the Prussians in Songhai, the Apache in Songhai, the Ottomans in Songhai, and the Songnam in Songhai, all at peace. And thank goodness, because that was going to be a deal breaker for them in some way. Adagost still at 0 health, no melee units really in sight, but Constantine and Kano have flipped to the Moors. Oh boy. Yeah, we could also be seeing this elimination this part. Also, it looks like Gao might have been flipped by Songhai and then immediately flipped back by Benin. And they don't... Actually, I'm looking right now. No. They have the one musket man by Kano, and he's damaged. He's not going to live. Oh boy, Songhai is not looking good. Another look at our Kiwi friends in New Zealand. To the north, they have a pretty decent-sized force that Shikoku are hanging around with. But these other islands, Dunedin, Gisborne, Hawera, all of them can be Tongan if they just declare. It looks like the Iroquois have maintained their hold of Wood Mountain, aptly named, and they've got 6 airplanes or something in the right there. Flight is looking good. In other news, Battleford takes a little wee bit of damage as the Apache push forward with their legionnaires and crossbowmen and cannons. I'm not sure how much further they can go, but they don't really have much stopping them. Yes, this is the timeline that people were looking for, where the Czechs come back for a vengeance. I hope that warrior can take Liberec, because that would be absolutely stunningly ridiculous. Everything is falling into place. This very well could be the last shot we see of Songhai. Man, that went fast. Benin and the Moors didn't know you had it in you. But who will take this? Who will be the one to suffer the warmongering penalty? Also, the high to declare war on the Murray. There was another declaration last slide, but I didn't acknowledge it because it wasn't so relevant. They have enough on their plate with Australia, all right? Vorkuta is Kazakh once more, and it doesn't necessarily look like the events will take it back. Oh boy, these lands are sparse. Nobody is really looking good. Could the Nanettes push through and just take something with a pikeman? Probably, but they wouldn't be able to hold it, but probably. And Palmyra comes and starts ruining all the fun because the Czechs need to actually be put into check by them. Oh, Ostrava is being attacked by legionnaires and crossbowmen. I think there was a cannon there at one point that might have died, so that is no longer the case. Another civ, Zimbabwe declared war on the Murray, and there's a big old cannon in Bursa that's bigger than the city. Maybe that will intimidate anybody from attacking them. Kakia is taken down by Benin, and it could be taken back by that Songhai musketman, but it won't last. Prime your F keys for Songhai. Hey, how about that? The Yupik take 2 cities from the Métis and look to take a 3rd, and maybe even a 4th with Fort de Prairies. The Yupik are really surprising me, and they got so cocky of the walk that they declared on the Aztecs. Like, that will do anything, but hey, come on, just fling your pride around. Jinju and Busan look to be Shikoku territory pretty soon as the Koreans continue to be pushed north. Could we be witnessing the makings of a triple elimination? Uruguay is getting uncomfortably close to Hulaguhiti. That's how you pronounce it these days. Oh boy, yes, the Uruguayans have that infantry unit fairly close, but no damage has still been dealt to that city. I can't believe these cities still stand. I don't understand how the jungles can be that terrible. This is Uruguay's Vietnam. In a move to flex on their neighbors, Venezuela declares on the Aztecs and the Quichuro. I can't see them doing terribly much against the Quichuro, although with Uruguay still at war with them, that might turn the tides. Huexotzinco has already taken some damage, but those swordsmen are really not going to do much against a rifleman, no matter how many ways you try to slice it. Man, Songhai keep having these cities that I keep forgetting about because, we keep forgetting about Libya. Sorry, Tripoli. Anyway, I think Benin will take it, although there are melee units that the Moors have nearby, but Benin is right within striking distance. Uruguay builds Neuschwanstein, which is, I guess, appropriate because I think a lot of Germans fled there during some war that wasn't on this cylinder, it was somewhere else. I'm very pleased with the You Pick This part. They've taken 3 cities from the Métis, who are arguably a much stronger and more developed civ, but the Ice Sheet Fleet 2 has been wreaking havoc all across this region. Mackinac could be next, Labeye, maybe that's next too. I don't know, but I don't care, this is awesome. Oh yeah, and the Uruguay and Quichuro make peace after 9,000 years. The war is finally over. And looking at the minimap, did the Quichuro have to relent anything? Well, I guess Seku, but who cares about that? The Kammugs are kind of being jerks by putting those citadels down next to Zhanyang, and they're starting to fill that land with more units, which is a good sign. All they have to do is say the word, and I'd say either the Qing or the Qin are gone. Maratha, aka 100% dat bitch, is filling India with Gatling guns and cannons of some sort. Oh boy, they are actually looking quite terrifying, and they might give Uruguay a run for their money if they had the same amount of wonders that Uruguay do. It seems they're a bit friendly with Nepal, but Nepal isn't long for these lands, hopefully, and Maratha should declare pretty soon before somebody else does. This looks to be New Zealand's last shot at taking Bunbury and Hohodé and eliminating Papua, but with all those injuries, I'm not sure if they can pull it off. Tongu have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 airplanes of some sort in the area, which spells disaster for anybody else, because nobody's going to be able to withstand the Gu force, which makes me question, is the leader of the Tongu actually the main character from Flubber? Remember guys, this is completely ad lib, so I didn't write any of this down. But while we're on the topic of Flubber, let me tell you something about Robin Williams. He is an angel. Oh god, I miss him. We're getting a good shot now of peaceful South America as Uruguay has filled their entire territory with anti-aircraft guns, Gatling guns, all sorts of guns. They're just all over the place. But I don't think anybody in this area has flight, so they're getting a little bit ahead of themselves. Uruguay wasn't able to do anything against the Quichuro, but perhaps Nazca is open. I don't know. Please don't just turn your sights over to the Sulknum because there are mountains in the way and that's a futile effort. But also, come on, that pikeman's looking pretty fierce, right? And Shikoku pushes Korea off of mainland Japan, but also takes their capital of Busan. Korea has an opportunity to be able to take it back and maybe flip it back and forth once or twice, but it's not looking good, and they're definitely going to be heading up north for northern exposure. The Kammugs are also in a good position to do something, as I've said before. Maybe those 2 event great prophets can inspire them to do something. And there goes the battle, if I can reference your favorite video game, Pokemon Stadium on the N64. Tripoli is down, and if your eyes are keen, you can see that Benin has taken the remainder of all the Songhai cities. Songhai did pretty well. They were very, very aggressive against Algeria and the Libyans. They had a very fierce control over West Africa, but weren't able to stand against both the Moorish forces and Benin when it came down to it. I am glad they're gone because I wanted Dahomey in there instead because they're a far better civ if you ask me, but I'll take this. F. If you listen carefully into the background of my recording, you can hear an ambulance coming, and that's very appropriate because the Murray are going to need one because they are getting brutally messed up by Australia. Bubarin Nagumin is on its last legs, and I can't predict those crossbowmen and one musketman and musician and pikemen are going to be able to stand against these legionnaires and rifle boys. We'll see you in hell, Murray. You did nothing against the Australians like we wanted you to. If you look in the top left corner, you'll see that Bunbury is at lower than half health, but those Kiwi boys are definitely looking pretty slim. I don't know if they're going to be able to take it. I hope they do, but time will tell. What does Haida have up their sleeve? Are they sending all these forces to Hawaii so they can consolidate the islands away from Shikoku? I think they better do that sooner rather than later, since Korea is going down and Shikoku's only getting stronger. So the time to strike is probably yesterday. And finally, the Qing wake up after they have a war declared on them, so they have no choice because they're that lazy. The Qin have decided that the Qing have done nothing thus far and are deciding to use their pikemen and that one injured rifleman to do something about it. Sure, they have an ironclad, but the Qing have a lot of privateers and other ships that they need to worry about. I don't know if this is exactly the right decision to make, but it's at least pretty interesting. Of note here, Shikoku and Korea make peace, which is definitely Seonju's right call. That's the leader, right? Oh, but Shikoku looking here, these islands in Oceania are starting to look more and more improved. There's a submarine in the top. I think that's the first one I've seen thus far, which is pretty cool. But the Goo boys are starting to learn how to fly. 5 over in Baruni. Hanubada, that's the one, has 6 planes in stock. Let's talk about the movie Flubber again for a second, because I need to talk about my personal headcanon. The Goo forces are using Flubber. If you remember the movie with Robin Williams, it's an American classic, and you should see it immediately. They put goo on the bottoms of their shoes, and they would bounce around, and that's how they won a basketball game. That's exactly what Tongu is doing now. They just put that goo on their feet, and they just bounce from island to island, menacingly. Here is a relatively rare shot of the Viking Sami front, and the Sami have brought forward a lot of workers, if you notice that. They do have a lot of scariness involved in them as well, and a war between the two would be pretty scary, but otherwise it seems fairly peaceful. Nidaros is a capital that we rarely see because the Vikings are typically on the warpath in England or in Northern Europe, and it has been some time since they've been at war with one another, so that could be in the works, especially with that citadel placement. A shot of Western Siberia and our Boyle boys, the Kamug Khanate, as well as the Evenks, who have pushed westward and across the Arctic region. There's not really much to say here other than that I want the Kamugs to do something. I love those pretty colors and would prefer that that brown and green be gone off the map forever. And here we have final confirmation that Bamako belongs to Benin. That's a lot of alliteration, I think. Oh, Songhai, so long, farewell, Avidas, and goodbye. But now the Moors have all of those cannons aimed directly at that border. Will the Moors be able to, take advantage of this weakened Benin to take the rest of Songhai lands? It's a possibility, but with Uruguay a growing force, who knows what'll happen. Hey, somebody thinks they're a wise guy, huh? And Madagascar attacks Chad, Israel. I don't know the reason behind this. I don't know what advantage they think they're going to take because Israel looks really strong right now. I mean, sure, Madagascar has musketmen aplenty fortified and in the ocean, but Israel has ships and they have guns. And what can't you do with a gun and a ship? The Yupik keep on creeping north with their ice sheet fleet too, and the Métis are not really doing much to stop it. It's a lot of ranged units and one pikeman, so I think the Yupik might be able to hold on to this territory for now. Honestly, I thought the Yupik were going to be gone by episode 8, so seeing this is really nice. The Iroquois in North Atlantic is looking a little thick. Despite there being a lack of units and boats, there's a total of 11 planes between Green Lake and Noadaga. They should be able to hold on to this land for some time, especially with the Métis being pushed back by the Yupik and the Apache sporting minimal units in the area. Green Lake is aptly named, being that it's on Greenland. Will they be able to hold, though, against the Viking encroachment from the east? Let's all go back to a time when Haiti took a city from the Iroquois in Taiyagon in Florida. Although, I guess they can keep it. Florida's not that great unless you're going to Disney World or Miami or some other great places. Talk to Rance about it. The Iroquois have really started to make a name for themselves in this area, with Itzkahiti and Ganayus being taken. If they are able to turn their sights and move some of those ships against Haiti, they won't really face much resistance. Haiti was creamed a little bit by Venezuela, and yeah, there's really not much else to show for it. I really wished that their voodoo powers were giving them much more strength, or at least I wished they had a religion in the first place, but they just kind of disappointed and fizzled out. Let's hope that they do something relevant. A shot of Zimbabwe's core, and they look okay. They're sporting some planes themselves, which is a good sign. 12 I see in this shot. And oh goodness, I kind of forgot about Madagascar's units in the middle of other Civ's areas. They've just been completely filling Benin territory, so maybe that is a problem for Beta Israel that I'd never noticed before. Prime those F keys for the Murray, as Australia has them surrounded more or less. Unless there's some kind of miraculous peace deal that lets the Murray survive, this is going to be a call now for a Murray Ghost Ball, so start designing it. Back to the Métis Southern Territory as the Apache move their units ever closer to Battleford and Cut Knife. I'm waiting to see more damage to these cities because it just seems to be all pillaging and movement for the time being, but in the next few turns we could see a different story. Also to your right you'll see that the Sami have declared war on the HRE as well as the Nazca. The Sami are probably a bit more relevant. Poor HRE, another Civ floating down the toilet. The Venezuelan assault on Aztec territory seems to have fizzled out a little bit as Huatzalcinco is restored to full health, and there really aren't many units nearby to really put a huge amount of damage on it. What is of note is that Uruguay is continuing to flood the territory of other civs with their very improved units. I don't know what that... So look at Texcoco. What is that? What is that little spear with a little thing on it? I have no idea, but I will see the machine gun unit, the anti-aircraft units, the infantry. The Uruguayans are scary. In an oof move, Madagascar's war on Chad Israel is already backfiring as Israel is now pushing back into Madagascan territory. Iqaluit could see a fall if they're able to defeat the minimal Madagascan navy, and then it's pretty much smooth sailing from there. On the right, you will notice that Tonga has declared war on Papua, so that might be a cool Tongan snipe if New Zealand doesn't do what it needs to do. Tonga time is ticking away. Here we see that all signs are not looking good for the Czechs, as Ostrava is brought down to half health by Palmyra. Given there aren't many melee units nearby, given 3 pikemen that are fortified and really not doing much of anything, Ostrava could fall, but also in the west, you see that Venice is making a hard push against Prague as well. In other news on the right side of the screen, you can see that Australia has declared war on Papua and is trying to snipe the rightful gains of Tonga. They just need to surrender all of their cities to Tonga already. But maybe the Australians are just thinking, you know what, warmongering penalties be damned, and the Murray are defeated. Goodbye, Murray. You have a few units left over, notably your 2 great musicians. Your music will live on throughout the eons of this cylinder, and your memory will not soon be forgotten. We had some high hopes for you. We were hoping for this green color to cover the continent, but alas, Australia is champion once more. Goodbye, Murray boys. F. If you did not notice the minimap earlier when Shikoku and Korea went to peace, Tallel and Chongjin are now Shikoken. Man, Korea has dwindled completely. It's a bit sad to see. They had their meteoric rise for a second and then a meteoric fall when the Shikoku just kind of dominated the seas. Although at peace for now, the clock is ticking for Seonjo's defeat. This is what I was referencing before with Madagascar having a ton of units in Benin lands, which I again referenced earlier. The only problem is all of those Benin units are blocking the way. There's one line, there's one little center hex right in the middle. You can see the -24 square right next to Owo. And that's it. That's the front right there. If Benin is able to either declare war on one of them or move out of the way, it could progress. But right now, it's just a meat grinder. There's definitely a juxtaposition we're seeing here between the Nazca and Venezuela. Venezuela has filled most of their territory with units, even though they're at war in a few areas. The Nazca haven't really done much. If they want to defend against Venezuela, or God forbid, the Quichuro, they're going to need to start building things fast. And news continues to worsen for the Czechs as Ostrava is brought down even further. Again, those pikemen haven't moved, so they're not in the worst position in the world, but all it takes is one unit to sneak its way in. The Venetian front looks to have dwindled a bit. There are some units that have died away on the Czech front, but I think they're pretty good for the time being. The Moors have puppeted most of the cities in this region, but we all know how happiness is a problem and appreciate that they haven't all been burned to the ground. We see a lot of workers as well improving things that weren't there before, and a lot of guns pointed to the south. With an inevitable war now between the Moors and Benin, which side is better prepared? Also, I know this is like my 106th rhetorical question, so bear with me, I'm ad-libbing here. Hey, Cut Knife finally takes damage and is brought down to half health by those cannons, but Battleford remains relatively the same. To the west, you can see that very easily pronounced city name starting to get crept on by some Métis forces, but I can't predict that will go much further. The Apache are really trying to push. You would think that they were at war with the Iroquois given all of those units surrounding Wood Mountain, but perhaps they're going for Saint-Louis de Levion, is how you pronounce it these days, before the Yupik get to it. And maybe I was wrong because it kind of looks a little bit like a stalemate. I'd give the edge to Chad Israel, but Madagascar is holding their own. They're just kind of depleting this East African ocean front for now. The Qin produced a couple of units out of nowhere and have started to make a little bit of gain against the Qing. The Qing are turtling, as they have been for a few millennia at this point, and I predict they'll continue to do so. Shikoku are looking mighty strong. They've taken all of this Korean territory and Ba-arin, which was an original Kamlik territory, if you can believe it, and they've just filled it up. I wouldn't be surprised if they were to start to develop some units, some melee units on the East Asian shores and just push westward. Oh shoot, I did not predict this, but again, we're facing a potential triple elimination. Bunbury is now in New Zealand's hands, and Hohode could be as well. This could be the end for our lime green friends. In other news, New Zealand declares war on the Qing, which is hopefully a sign of other things to come as more and more civs potentially declare war on them. The Kazakhs are fighting tooth and nail to get through to these Evenki cities. Those forests have been slowing things down as well as those snowy hills, but sooner or later, just like Bambi's mom, the Evenk and their reindeer will fall. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen Bambi. And we end this part with a view of beautiful Mexico. I didn't think that the Aztec and Venezuelan war was really doing much of anything until you look to the right and you see that Jaketown has a lot of Venezuelans in that territory. I think by next part we could see a Venezuelan Louisiana, which would be pretty interesting. Apache lands are also looking a bit depleted in this region, so who knows what will come of that. Maybe Uruguay will open borders with them and fill their land with their own units if they're not careful. Australia has declared war on the Qing, which is not super relevant, but you can also see that there might be a new proposal coming down the pipeline, so prepare yourself for that. This has been amazing in that I had to ad-lib every single one of these slides, so forgive me if it wasn't the greatest in the world. Give me some feedback in the comments if you dare. This part was brought to you by the movie Flubber. Go check it out, please. Just kidding, they didn't actually sponsor me, but if you want, send me a Disney Plus subscription because I want to watch The Mandalorian. I appreciate your time and for all of your views. If you like this video, like and subscribe. If you didn't, like and subscribe to really shove it to me. Join us next week where we might see more eliminations, as I've hinted at before. But until then, we'll see you next time.